Live updates, Ukraine-Russia war live updates, top diplomats meet for talks, Kyiv calls Mariupol hospital strike a war crime. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has said his country will not surrender, after a high-level meeting in Turkey with his Russian counterpart. Tap to unmute link copied March 10, 2022, 2:27 p.m. +06, updated March 11, 2022, 1:05 a.m. +06 by NBC News. Russia faced growing outrage on Thursday after an attack on a children's hospital in the besieged southern port city Mariupol left at least 3 people dead, including 1 child, according to Ukrainian officials. With the war entering its 3rd week, a meeting between the country's top diplomats failed to produce any breakthroughs. Ukraine's foreign minister said he made clear his country will not surrender during a meeting in southern Turkey with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, on Thursday. The talks came as Ukraine sought to evacuate more residents trapped in hard-hit areas and accused Russia of war crimes for targeting civilians. Recommended NBCBLK parents testify for police notice of deaths within 24 hours in Connecticut. Out News Chile's first gay couple weds as same-sex marriage law takes effect. Tens of thousands of people were able to escape from Ukrainian cities and towns Wednesday via humanitarian corridors, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said. But Ukrainian officials also accused Russian forces of continuing to shell escape routes or block them. Follow our full coverage on the conflict here. See new posts 5 meters ago, 1:05 a.m. +06. Russia uses nuclear danger to stoke fear as forces take control of largest plant in Europe. March 11, 202,205 to 49. Share this. Psaki suggests U.S. wouldn't engage militarily with Russia if it uses chemical or biological weapons. Rebecca Shabbat 23 meters ago, 12:47 a.m. +06. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki suggested Thursday that the U.S. has no intention of engaging militarily with Russia even if it uses chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine. Asked if Russia's use of such weapons would be a red line for President Joe Biden in terms of direct U.S. involvement in the war, Psaki told reporters, "We are directly involved. We are providing $1 billion in security assistance, we are the largest provider of that." Pressed again on the question, she said, "With the U.S. military engaging in Ukraine and fighting a war against Russia, we don't have any intention to do that." Psaki reiterated that Russia has a history of using chemical and biological weapons, and U.S. officials should have their eyes open for that possibility. Share this. At least 549 civilians have been killed in Ukraine, but toll is likely much higher, UN office says. Rebecca Shabbat 56 meters ago, 12:14 a.m. +06. Between the time Russia launched its invasion into Ukraine on February 24 and Wednesday night, there have been more than 1,500 civilian casualties, including at least 549 people killed, according to the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Of the 549 people killed, 26 were children, the UN said. The office also said that more than 950 people have been injured, including 34 children. Ukrainian officials, as well as the UN office, said they believe the death toll has been much higher than what has been officially reported. Most of the civilian casualties recorded were caused by the use of explosive weapons with a wide impact area, including shelling from heavy artillery and multi-launch rocket systems, and missile and air strikes, the UN said. The office said it believes that the actual figures are considerably higher, especially in government-controlled territory and especially in recent days, as the receipt of information from some locations where intense hostilities have been going on has been delayed and many reports are still pending corroboration. Share this. 1h ago, 12:08 a.m. +06. U.S. rejects Poland's plan to give Ukraine Soviet-era fighter jets. March 10, 202,201 to 58. Share this. YouTube, Google Play suspend payment-based services in Russia. Reuters. 1h ago, 12:05 a.m. +06. Alphabet Inc.'s YouTube and Google Play Store are suspending all payment-based services in Russia, including subscriptions, as Western sanctions start to pose banking challenges in the country. Google will also pause ads for advertisers based in Russia across its properties and networks globally, the company said. This is in addition to the company's recent suspension of ads in Russia. Google and YouTube had earlier stopped selling online advertising in Russia following similar pauses by Twitter and Snap after Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. As a follow-up, we're now extending this pause to all our monetization features, including YouTube Premium, channel memberships, Super Chat and merchandise, for viewers in Russia, YouTube said in a statement on Thursday.
YouTube channels in Russia will still be able to generate revenue from viewers outside of Russia, which includes Super Chat and merchandise sales. Free apps on Google Play also remain available in Russia, according to a company support website. Share this-EU chief. Russia's shelling of Mariupol maternity ward can be a war crime. Reuters, 1 hour ago, /11:58 p.m+06, Brussels. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said Thursday that Russia's shelling of a maternity hospital in Ukraine.
The bombing of the Mariupol maternity hospital is inhumane, cruel and tragic. I am convinced that this can be a war crime. We need a full investigation, von der Leyen said. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, told the BBC on Thursday that the Biden administration was working with the international community to document the crimes that Russia is committing against the Ukrainian people. They constitute war crimes. There are attacks on civilians that cannot be justified by in any way whatsoever, she said. Share this dash. Russia claims the attack on the hospital in Mariupol was a staged provocation. Rebecca Shabad. 1 hour ago, 11:52 p.m+06. Russia's defense ministry said Thursday the airstrike that hit the maternity and children's hospital in Mariupol a day earlier was a directed provocation, according to Russian state news agency RIA Novosti. The supposed airstrike was a completely directed provocation to sustain the anti-Russian sentiment in the Western audience, the state news agency said. The photos of the aftermath showed two separate staged explosions next to the hospital. One was a deep underground explosion and the other one was smaller and was targeted at the hospital building, it said. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and other officials said Wednesday that the attack on the hospital was from a Russian airstrike. Ukrainian authorities said the attack killed at least 3 people, including a child. Share this dash. Burger King pulls corporate support from franchised Russian locations. Zoe Richards. 1 hour ago, 11:50 p.m+06. Burger King is cutting corporate support for its more than 800 franchised restaurants in Russia in response to the ongoing invasion of Ukraine, the company announced Thursday. The fast food chain said it would turn away investments or expansion within Russia and that it would pause operations, marketing and its supply chain as the war intensifies. The company was facing an onslaught of pressure to halt its operations in protest against the war. Burger King's departure is just the latest in a trail of major fast food companies backing out of Russia. McDonald's, Starbucks and Yum Brands, which owns KFC and Pizza Hut, also said this week they were closing stores in Russia. Share this dash. Ukrainian deputy PM says it's impossible to evacuate people from Mariupol. Rebecca Shabad. 1 hour ago, 11:45 p.m+06. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Jana Ojana said Thursday that it's impossible to evacuate people from 2 Ukrainian cities, including the city of Mariupol where a maternity and children's hospital was bombed a day earlier. The most difficult situation is in Volnovka and Mariupol. It is not possible to organize humanitarian corridors from there. These cities are a real humanitarian catastrophe, she said in a post on Telegram. Both cities are located in the Donetsk region. Mariupol is on the north coast of the Black Sea in southeastern Ukraine. Volnovka is about 40 miles north of Mariupol. Meanwhile, Vereshchuk said 83,000 people have been evacuated from other Ukrainian cities over the last 2 days. On Thursday, a regional governor in eastern Ukraine, Olesa Negubov, said the Russian military had blocked Ukrainian civilians from evacuating territory in the town of Izum. He said Russia did not comply with the terms of the Green Corridor and continued to attack the civilian population. Still, Ukrainian authorities were able to evacuate more than 1,600 people on 44 buses, he said. Mariupol deputy mayor, not possible for Ukrainians to evacuate due to continuous bombing. March 11, 202,209 hours 13 minutes. Share this dash. Romney, makes no sense to keep Soviet jets from going to Ukraine. Zoe Richards. 2 hours ago, 11:38 p.m. +06. Senator Mitt Romney, Republican Utah, slammed the Biden administration's response to Ukraine's request for aircraft as it tries to shore up its defenses against Russian forces. I simply do not understand the logic for not getting the MiGs to the Ukrainians immediately. Romney said at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing on Thursday. It makes no sense. The comments come a day after the United States rejected an offer from Poland on Wednesday to transfer its Soviet-era MiG-29 fighter jets to bolster Ukraine's air force. The Utah Republican acknowledged concerns about Russian President Vladimir Putin further escalating the war, but insisted it's time for him to be fearful of what we might do. This is war, people are dying, we need to get this aircraft immediately to the people of Ukraine, he said. Share this dash. 2 hours ago, 11:13 p.m. +06. U.S. intel officials discuss Russian capabilities at Senate Worldwide Threats hearing. March 10, 202,201 hours 58 minutes. Share this dash. Mariupol residents grow desperate as food, other essentials run low, Red Cross official says. Zoe Richards. 3 hours ago, 10:28 p.m. +06. Residents of the besieged port city of Mariupol are running low on basic necessities, the International Committee of the Red Cross said Thursday, describing the situation as increasingly dire and desperate. Food, water, heat, electricity and medical care supplies are scant among the city's approximately 400,000 residents, the organization said, as Russia's invasion of Ukraine stretched into its third week. Sasha Volkov, the humanitarian agency's delegation head in Mariupol, detailed dwindling resources and said that diabetes and cancer patients were not able to get much-needed medications in an audio message recorded on Wednesday and shared by the ICRC. Many have no water at all for drinking, he said. Some people still have food, but I'm not sure for how long it will last. Volkov said the siege has left families desperate for relief. People started to attack each other for food, he said. Share this dash. As millions flee Ukraine, some nations take in far more refugees than others. Chantal De Silva. 3 hours ago, 10 p.m. +06. London, more than 2 million people had fled Ukraine as of Wednesday in what could soon become Europe's biggest refugee crisis of the 21st century, and the worst since World War II. A spokesperson for UNICEF told NBC News that at least half of them are children, some of whom have been forced to travel on their own. The UN's refugee agency, UNHCR, welcomed a decision last week by the European Union to offer temporary protection to Ukrainians and third country nationals who have refugee or permanent residence status in Ukraine, offering them immediate protection. While the bloc and countries neighboring Ukraine have received praise, however, other nations are being accused of falling behind, particularly Britain, after it acknowledged issuing just 300 visas to Ukrainians so far in response to the crisis. Read more here. Share this dash. Goldman Sachs becomes first major bank to exit Russia over invasion. Zoe Richards. 4 hours ago, 9:34 p.m. +06. Goldman Sachs on Thursday became the first major bank to announce plans to close operations in Russia weeks over the war in Ukraine as other major financial firms eye potential exits. Goldman Sachs is winding down its business in Russia in compliance with regulatory and licensing requirements, Patrick Scanlon, a spokesman said in an emailed statement. We are focused on supporting our clients across the globe in managing or closing out pre-existing obligations in the market and ensuring the well-being of our people. Goldman is continuing to trade corporate debt tied to Russia, but the bank itself will not be wagering on price movements, Bloomberg reported. Citigroup said on Wednesday that it was working on winding down its consumer banking business in Russia. We are continuing our previously announced efforts to exit our consumer banking business in Russia, Edward Schuyler, the bank's executive vice president of global public affairs, wrote in a statement. As we work toward that exit, we are operating that business on a more limited basis given current circumstances and obligations, the bank said. Share this dash. Lavrov criticizes West for supplying weapons to Ukraine. Chantal de Silva. 4 hours ago, 9:17 p.m. +06. Western nations supplying weapons to Ukraine are creating a colossal threat to themselves, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Thursday. Speaking after a meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba ended with no signs of progress toward a ceasefire, Lavrov said that his country did not attack Ukraine, and he criticized Western nations for supplying weapons to forces in the country. He added that complaints made by Moscow over the course of many years about the situation in Ukraine posing a direct threat to Russia had fallen on deaf ears. Kuleba, meanwhile, lamented the failure to reach a ceasefire agreement. Unfortunately, FM Lavrov seemed to have come to talk, not to decide, he tweeted. Share this dash. Chantal de Silva. 4 hours ago, 9:02 p.m. +06. Residents evacuate the city of Irpin, north of Kiev, on Thursday. Image, Irpin evacuation. Aris Messanis, AFP, Getty Images. Share this dash. 5 medical workers killed, more than 60 hospitals damaged in attacks, Ukraine's health minister says. Chantal de Silva. 5 hours ago, 8:20 p.m. +06. 5 medical workers have been killed and at least 63 hospitals have been damaged since Russia launched its invasion, Ukraine's health minister said in a Facebook post Thursday. Viktor Lyashko blamed the deaths on the bullets of Russian terrorists. His comments came after Ukrainian officials said a Russian airstrike on a hospital had killed at least 3 people, including a child, on Wednesday. Share this dash. NBC News. 5 hours ago, 8:17 p.m. +06. Men's tennis world number 1 Daniil Medvedev says he wants worldwide peace. March 10, 202,201 hours 6 minutes. Share this dash. Major Ukraine telecom provider knocked offline. Kevin Collier. 5 hours ago, 8:05 p.m. +06. Ukraine's internet outages are getting worse. Trilan, one of Ukraine's largest national telecommunications providers, has been entirely offline for about 12 hours, according to Doug Madery, the director of internet analysis at Kindig, a company that monitors global internet connectivity. In a Telegram post, Trilan said that the outage was due to an attack, though it wasn't clear if that meant a cyber attack or if key infrastructure had been physically damaged. The outage further squeezes Ukraine's national internet connectivity, which has been steadily declining due to several factors related to Russia's invasion, leaving many besieged Ukrainians in an information blackout. Share this dash. NBC News. 6 hours ago, 7:29 p.m. +06. How U.S. is trying to aid Ukraine without engaging in conflict. March 10, 202,201 hours 34 minutes. Share this dash. Italian museums to return loan works to Russian galleries. Reuters. 6 hours ago, 7:21 p.m. +06. 2 museums in Milan will return several works of art on loan from Russia after requests for their early return, the Italian galleries said on Thursday, a further sign of broader tensions caused by the invasion of Ukraine. The Hermitage Museum, based in St. Petersburg, wrote to Milan's Palazzo Reale asking for the return of two paintings, including Young Woman with a Feathered Hat by the Venetian painter Titian, loaned for the Titian and the Image of Women in 16th-century Venice exhibition. "I think the two works will be picked up by the end of March," said museum director Domenico Pirena, adding they cannot oppose the request. "Titian's work is certainly important, but the exhibition can go ahead well without it," he said. The exhibition started on February 23 and will run until June 5. "When I read the letter I felt bitter because culture should be protected from war, but these are difficult times," Pirena added. Gallery d'Italia, which operates another museum in Milan, said it received a request for the return of 23 works out of nearly 200 in the current exhibition Grand Tour. Dream of Italy from Venice to Pompeii, on loan from 3 Russian museums. They will be returned before the exhibition closes on 27 March, said a spokesperson for the Intesa Sanpaolo Bank, which owns the collection at the gallery and 2 other sites in Naples and Vicenza. The Rome-based Fendi Foundation and another museum in northern city of Udine have received similar requests. Share this dash. Zelenskyy says more than 60,000 residents rescued from besieged cities Wednesday. Chantal de Silva. 6 hours ago, 7:04 p.m. +06. More than 60,000 residents have been rescued from besieged cities in Ukraine in the past day, the country's president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, has said. Calling Russian troops monsters, Zelenskyy said his heart is broken by the death and destruction brought to cities under attack in Ukraine. Despite everything, updated information was received every hour yesterday about people who managed to be evacuated to the free territory of Ukraine, he said. In total, more than 60,000 of our citizens were rescued yesterday, plus those who did not have time until night and continued to evacuate in the morning. Zelenskyy noted that humanitarian corridors were once again opened Thursday to allow the evacuation of residents from some areas. Buses have already left, trucks are on their way, with food, water, medicine, he said. Share this dash. Harris announces U.S. has delivered 2 missile defense systems to Poland. Rebecca Shabad. 6 hours ago, 6:50 p.m. +06. Vice President Kamala Harris announced Thursday that the U.S. has delivered 2 Patriot missile defense systems to Poland. 2 Patriot missile defense systems. "We do this as a reminder and as a demonstration of our commitment to the security of our allies and our commitment in particular to Poland at this moment in time," she said in remarks to reporters after meeting with Polish President Andrzej Duda in Warsaw. Harris also announced the U.S. will give $50 million in humanitarian assistance to help Poland as it deals with a flood of refugees who are fleeing Ukraine. The vice president reiterated the U.S. commitment to Article 5 of NATO is ironclad. The United States is prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory. The United States takes seriously that an attack against one is an attack against all, she said. Share this dash. NBC News. 6 hours ago, 6:46 p.m. +06. A military priest tries to comfort a crying woman who was evacuated from Irpin, at a triage point in Kiev, Ukraine, on Wednesday. Image: military priest tries to comfort a crying woman in Irpin. Vadim Gerda, AP. Share this dash. Ukraine asks IAEA to assess the situation at nuclear power plants. Maidala Garwal. 7 hours ago, 6:18 p.m. +06. Ukraine's parliament has asked the International Atomic Energy Agency to assess the situation at its nuclear power plants. Announced in a Telegram post, the request came after the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was disconnected from the national power grid. It is currently operating on backup diesel generators. Due to constant fighting, repairs and restoration of energy supply are currently impossible, the parliament said. Ukrenergo, the national energy company, is awaiting a safe corridor to restore power lines. Our repair crews are ready to repair the line immediately, despite the threat of being shot by the enemy, and are waiting for permission, it said. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi left for Turkey on Thursday to discuss the urgent issue of ensuring the safety and security of Ukraine's nuclear facilities, he said on Twitter. The IAEA had said on Wednesday that there has been no critical impact at Chernobyl, which, along with the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, remains under Russian occupation. Share this dash. UK eases visa rules for Ukrainians after facing backlash over refugee response. Chantal de Silva. 7 hours ago, 6:12 p.m. +06. The United Kingdom has announced an easing of its rules allowing Ukrainians to obtain British visas after facing widespread backlash over its response to the growing refugee crisis. Speaking in Parliament on Thursday, British Home Secretary Priti Patel announced that the UK would be rolling out a streamlined online visa application system for Ukrainians seeking to flee the war with Russia. Patel told members of parliament the changes in response to Putin's depraved war would come into effect starting Tuesday. She said the move would allow visa application centers across Europe to focus their efforts on assisting Ukrainians without passports, in order to speed up the process. The decision comes after the British government faced criticism, with France accusing the UK of turning away Ukrainians and telling them to travel to visa application centers in France to apply to enter. Patel denied the accusations earlier this week. The UK has also faced condemnation, however, for only issuing visas to several hundred Ukrainians and for only issuing the visas under a limited program for those with relatives in Britain. Meanwhile, neighboring countries around Ukraine have accepted tens of thousands of refugees fleeing the conflict, with Poland taking in more than 1.4 million, according to the latest data from the United Nations Refugee Agency. Share this dash. Chantal de Silva. 7 hours ago, 6:04 p.m. +06. Civilians evacuated from Enerada arrive in Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine on Wednesday. Image: civilians evacuated from nuclear power plant area arrive in Zaporizhzhia. Anadolu Agency via Getty Images. Share this dash. Ukrainian presidential advisor accuses Russia of creating Syria scenario with hospital attack. Chantal de Silva. 7 hours ago, 5:58 p.m. +06. Ukrainian presidential advisor Oleksiy Arestovych has accused Russia of creating a scenario like Syria with its recent attack on a children's hospital in Mariupol. After the Russian occupiers' attack on the maternity hospital in Mariupol, it finally became clear that Russia had changed its tactics and switched to the Syrian scenario, terror of the civilian population, he said in a Telegram post. He also accused Russian forces of deliberately disrupting the evacuation of civilians. The comment came as the besieged city of Mariupol's city council said it was under fresh air attack by Russian forces amid efforts to evacuate residents. Defenders of Mariupol hold the defense, Arestovych said, adding, "We will do everything to evacuate the civilian population of Mariupol." The advisor said he believes Russia would not be able to take Mariupol. Russia has consistently denied targeting civilians. Share this dash. Japanese companies suspend operations in Russia. Maidal Agarwal. 8 hours ago, 5:40 p.m. +06. Major Japanese firms including Uniqlo and Sony have joined a growing list of companies suspending their operations in Russia. Clothing retailer Uniqlo cannot continue doing business because of a number of difficulties, parent company Fast Retailing said in a statement on Thursday. Fast Retailing founder Tadashi Yanai had earlier told Japan's Nikkei newspaper that Uniqlo's Russian stores would stay open, calling clothing a necessity of life. Also on Thursday, Japanese conglomerate Hitachi announced it was suspending all exports to Russia and halting manufacturing activities there except for electrical equipment that is indispensable to the daily lives of people. Gaming giants Sony and Nintendo have suspended all software and hardware shipments, while Sony has also shuttered its physical PlayStation stores in Russia. While the Japanese government was quick to join international economic sanctions against Moscow, Japanese companies had largely held off and have come under pressure in recent days to follow their Western competitors in reducing their Russia ties. Share this dash. Thank you, Poland. Ukrainian refugee expresses gratitude for adopted home. Kelly Kobe Ela and Yukata Cabana. 8 hours ago, 5:21 p.m. +06. Ludmila Iwana, 49, and her 2 young children are just a few of the estimated 2 million people who have fled across Ukraine's border to escape the war. Iwana, originally from the Poltava region in central Ukraine, told NBC News earlier this week that she and her daughter, Anastasia, 6, and son, Artem, 10, were forced to flee their home because the Russian army was approaching. She left her husband, a retired soldier, behind to fight. She bemoaned the violent Russian assault and said President Vladimir Putin was sending children as cannon fodder to the front lines. "It's Putin," she said. "He is sending these children, young boys. They took weapons and they are killing our kids. And what can we do? We have to defend ourselves." Iwana said that to save her children, she fled to Poland, arriving in Rzeszów. "I am really grateful to Poland, because I have managed to extend my children's childhood. They gave them shelter, because Putin and the Russian army destroyed Ukraine and Ukrainians," she said as she began to cry. "Thank you, Poland. We will study Polish language, because we are so grateful." As she looks to build a new life in her adopted country, she said, "Of course I would like to help also. Maybe I can find work, because I just can't stay here and only eat for free. I am a healthy woman, I have to work to feed our children," she said. Image, Ludmila Iwana. Ludmila Iwana and her children, Artem, 6, and Anastasia, 10, at a makeshift refugee shelter set up by a gaming company called G2A in Rzeszów, Poland, on March 6. Yukata Cabana, NBC News. Share this dash. Kuleba says Lavrov addressed nuclear threat issue during meeting. Chantal de Silva. 8 hours ago, 4:52 p.m. +06. Ukraine's top diplomat has said his Russian counterpart addressed the nuclear threat issue in Ukraine as Russian forces continue to hold control of the Chernobyl and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plants. "I told him that before the Russian soldiers came to our territory everything was fine with our nuclear power plants," Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba told reporters following his high-level meeting in Turkey with Russia's Sergei Lavrov. "Ukraine has always been a responsible participant of nuclear power organization," he said. His comments came amid concerns about the Chernobyl plant after it was disconnected from the national power grid. The International Atomic Energy Agency has said that while the development violated a key safety pillar, there had been no critical impact. Kuleba also sought to shut down accusations from Russia that Ukraine was producing nuclear weapons, dismissing the baseless claim as false. Britain's defense ministry has said that Russia was likely ramping up accusations of Ukraine developing nuclear weapons in a bid to justify its invasion of the country. In an intelligence update, the Defense Ministry said that there has been a notable intensification of Russia's accusations of Ukraine developing nuclear or biological weapons since the end of February. Kuleba said, "The best thing that Russia can do right now is withdraw its troops from our nuclear power stations." Share this dash. Ukraine investigates 38 cases of alleged treason against local officials, officers. Maidala Garwal. 8 hours ago, 4:51 p.m. +06. Ukraine is investigating 38 cases of alleged treason against local officials and law enforcement officers accused of aiding Russia, the State Bureau of Investigation said on Thursday. Investigators have launched proceedings against several police officers in Mariupol and Kherson, it said in a statement on Facebook. They committed treason under martial law and sided with the enemy. The martial law has been in place since February 24. Law enforcement has also found local officials who actively support and promote Russian aggression, the bureau said. One official was detained in the Donetsk city of Kramatorsk and similar actions were recorded in other occupied territories, it said. Share this dash. Ukraine's foreign minister says country will not surrender after meeting with Russian counterpart. Chantal de Silva. 9 hours ago, 4:39 p.m. +06. Ukraine's foreign minister has said his country will not surrender following a meeting with his Russian counterpart. Following the high-level meeting in Antalya, Turkey, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said Russia appeared to seek surrender from Ukraine, but this is not what they are going to get. Ukraine is strong, he said. Kiev cannot stop the war if the aggressor country does not want to do so, he added. Today, I heard that a ceasefire is possible if Ukraine fulfills Putin's terms, he said. However, Ukraine does not surrender. He said, however, that his country would continue to seek diplomatic solutions and until that is achieved, we will protect people from Russian aggression. Kuleba added that Ukraine had proposed a humanitarian corridor to and from the besieged southern port city of Mariupol, as well as a ceasefire for at least a day to address the humanitarian problems of civilians. He said the Russian side has not agreed to that proposal, but said he was prepared to continue negotiations. Ukraine refuses to surrender in meeting with Russian Foreign Minister. March 10, 202,200 hours 48 minutes. Share this dash. Meeting between Ukrainian, Russian foreign ministers concludes. Chantal de Silva. 9 hours ago, 4:07 p.m. +06. A meeting in Turkey between Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba and his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, has concluded. The high-level meeting in southern Turkey came as Ukraine continued evacuations of residents trapped in hard-hit areas and as officials accused Russia of war crimes for appearing to target civilians. Share this dash. Major newspapers in Nordic region to translate articles into Russian to provide reliable news. The Associated Press. 9 hours ago, 3:55 p.m. +06. 3 major newspapers in the Nordic region are to translate some of their articles on the invasion of Ukraine into Russian. The plan is to inform people in Russia about what is happening, after independent media there were shut down. The translated newspaper articles also will be posted on social media. Denmark's Politiken newspaper Politiken said Thursday that our goal is to provide the Russians with impartial and reliable news coverage. It added that democracy dies in the dark. The free dissemination of independent information is essential for maintaining the hope of peace and the hope of humanity. Other newspapers participating in the initiative include Sweden's Daily Dagens Nyheter and Finland's largest newspaper, Helsingin Sanomat. Share this dash. Ukraine nuclear power plants operating under the barrels of machine guns, says operator Maidala Garwal. 10 hours ago, 3:40 p.m. +06. Ukraine's nuclear power operator has raised fresh concern over the situation at the Chernobyl and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plants, which are under Russian control, as it said workers continued to work under the barrels of machine guns. Out of the 4 power lines at the Zaporizhzhia plant, 2 have already been damaged, it said. If 2 more are damaged, there will be a catastrophe, Energoatom said Thursday in a statement on Telegram. Chernobyl is used as a military base. The station is partially de-energized, it said. Emergency diesel generators are currently in operation. The International Atomic Energy Agency had said yesterday that although the situation at the Chernobyl plant violates a key safety pillar, there has been no critical impact. Share this dash. UK sanctions Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich, billionaire soccer club owner. Chantal de Silva and the Associated Press. 10 hours ago, 3:25 p.m. +06. Roman Abramovich, the billionaire owner of Premier League soccer club Chelsea, has been sanctioned by the British government as part of an effort to ramp up pressure on Russian oligarchs. Abramovich was one of several wealthy Russians to be named in new sanctions unveiled Thursday. He had recently announced his intention to sell London-based soccer club Chelsea, with plans to donate net proceeds from the sale to victims of the war in Ukraine. But that sale now appears to be on hold, with the British government saying Thursday that Abramovich's assets are frozen, he is banned from visiting the UK and he is barred from transactions with UK individuals and businesses. Also added to the UK sanctions list are industrialist Oleg Deripaska and Rosneft chief executive Igor Sakhin. Share this dash. Moscow Stock Exchange remained shut for 10th consecutive day. Maidala Garwal. 10 hours ago, 3 p.m. plus 06. Moscow Stock Exchange was closed Thursday for the 10th consecutive day with only limited exceptions allowed, the Bank of Russia announced in a statement. The Russian ruble fell sharply after the bank allowed its trade on Wednesday, falling to almost half of its value against the US dollar since February 10, reported CNBC. The trading sessions in the foreign exchange and money market opened at 10:00 a.m. local time on Thursday, 2 a.m. ET. Share this dash. Talks between Ukraine, Russia's top diplomats begin. Chantal de Silva. 10 hours ago, 2:46 p.m. plus 06. Talks between Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov have begun, a spokesperson for Ukraine's foreign ministry has said. The talks are taking place in Antalya, Turkey, with Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Oleg Nikolyenko tweeting a photo of the diplomats meeting at the Antalya Diplomacy Forum. Kuleba has previously said he does not have high hopes for the meeting, but he said he would push for the maximum in bringing an end to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Share this dash. Attack on Mariupol Children's Hospital leaves 3 dead, including a child, City Council says. NBC News. 11 hours ago, 2:37 p.m. plus 06. An attack on a children's hospital in the southern port city of Mariupol on Wednesday killed at least 3 people, including 1 child, city council officials said. In a Telegram post, Mariupol City Council said that the attack had killed a young girl, in addition to injuring at least 17 others, including children, mothers and doctors. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has condemned the strike and similar attacks in other cities as evidence of a genocide being carried out by Russian forces. Europeans, you won't be able to say that you did not see what was happening to Ukrainians, what was happening in Mariupol, he said. You saw it. You know it. You need to continue to impose sanctions on Russia so that they would not be able to continue this genocide, so that they would sit at the negotiation table and stop this atrocious war. Share this dash. Lawrence O'Donnell. 12 hours ago, 1:30 p.m. plus 06. Ukrainian's father in Russia didn't believe him about Putin's war. March 10, 202,208 hours 30 minutes. Share this dash. Russian forces continue to suffer losses in Kiev, UK Defense Ministry says. Maidala Garwal. 12 hours ago, 1:29 p.m. plus 06. Russian forces situated northwest of Kiev have made little recent progress, the UK Defense Ministry said Thursday. The large Russian column northwest of Kiev has made little progress in over a week and is suffering continued losses at the hands of the Ukrainian armed forces, said the ministry in a tweet. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine said the city's defense is inflicting fire damage on the offensive group of occupiers and is maintaining defensive lines. Measures are being taken to deter the enemy from advancing in the direction of Kiev, it said in a statement on Facebook on Thursday morning. Share this dash. Get the morning rundown. Get a head start on the morning's top stories. Enter your email. Sign up. This site is protected by reCAPTCHA privacy policy, terms of service. NBC News. Ukrainian mother describes how Russian soldiers thought her family were Nazis. Tatiana Vlashenko was shot by Russian soldiers as she and her family tried to flee their village just outside Kiev. NBC News' Richard Engel spoke with her in the hospital where she received treatment for bullet wounds to her leg. NBC News. Wounds to her leg. NBC News. Wounds to her leg. NBC News. Russia-Ukraine war, the battle for Odessa. The fight for the Black Sea port could influence the outcome of the war and affect regional security, experts say. Citizens fill bags with sand for front lines, along the beach of the Black Sea city of Odessa. Citizens fill bags with sand for front lines, along the beach of the Black Sea city of Odessa, in the southern Ukraine, Bulant Kila KFP. By Maria Petkova. Published on March 9, 2022. March 9, 2022. 2 weeks into Russia's war in Ukraine, Kiev's forces are preparing for a potential attack by Moscow's troops on the historic port city of Odessa on the Black Sea. Situated 300 kilometers, 186 miles, west of the Russian-annexed Crimean Peninsula, the city is seen as a strategic asset by both Ukraine and Russia, and its fall would have significant repercussions, not only for the two countries, but also for the wider Black Sea region, experts warn. Keep reading. List of 4 items. List 1 of 4. Ukrainian embassy in US, Americans want to join fight versus Russia. List 2 of 4. Putin says Russia will emerge stronger, sanctions will rebound. List 3 of 4. Europe's central bank speeding up end to economic stimulus. List 4 of 4. UK to allow Ukrainians easier entry after outcry. End of list. Russian troops, advancing west of Crimea, have already taken the port city of Kherson and arrived at Mykolaiv, just 120 kilometers, 75 miles, east of Odessa. Russian Navy ships have been spotted close to Ukrainian territorial waters, raising fears of a possible attack from the sea. On Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said the Russian army is planning a violent assault on the city, calling it an historical crime. Earlier last week, he dismissed the civilian governor of Odessa province, Serhiy Rainovitsky, and replaced him with Maxim Marchenko, an army colonel and former leader of the controversial Adar battalion, which has fought in the Donbas region in Ukraine's east since 2014. Interactive: The Battle for Odessa Map Ukraine-Russia War. Al Jazeera. The Ukrainian military has already established defensive positions across Odessa, imposed a curfew and set up roadblocks at all entrances to the city of 1 million people. The ports have been closed to commercial shipping, while the evacuation of civilians has begun. A pivotal lifeline to overseas. Odessa is of strategic military and economic importance to Ukraine. After losing its naval base in Sevastopol following the annexation of Crimea in 2014, the Ukrainian Navy moved its headquarters there. Its 3 ports also play an important role in the economy of the country. Some 70% of all Ukrainian imports and exports are in the form of sea cargo, and Odessa handles about 65% of that. Volunteers fill sandbags to build barricades in Odessa. Volunteers fill sandbags to build barricades in Odessa, Max Shibishevsky AP photo. For Ukraine, Odessa represents a pivotal lifeline to overseas, Alexei Moraviv, Associate Professor of National Security and Strategic Studies at Curtin University, told Al Jazeera. If Russia seizes Odessa, it will effectively cut off Ukraine from overseas trade and military aid. The loss of the port city could have significant ramifications for Ukraine and its war effort and give Russia a strategic advantage. Ukraine does not have any other large ports to rely on in case it loses control of its third-largest city, allowing Russia to effectively dominate the whole of the northern Black Sea coast. In the context of the Russia-Ukraine war, the battle for Odessa would play one of the key roles in determining the future political outcome of the current conflict, Moraviv said. For Russia, The complete control of the Ukraine's Black Sea and the Sea of Azov coasts may be more important than the seizure of Kharkiv or western Ukraine combined. They want Odessa intact. Capturing Odessa would also have a particular symbolic significance, given the important status it holds in Russian culture and history. Founded in 1794 by Russian Empress Catherine the Great, Odessa became a crucial seaport and a cosmopolitan urban center, home not only to Russians and Ukrainians, but also to Armenian, Bulgarian, Greek, Jewish and other communities. With its ornate architecture designed by Italian artists and rich cultural life, the city turned into one of the symbols of Russian imperial prestige and power. The local authorities have expressed hope that the port city's historical importance could spare it from the destructive aerial assaults other Ukrainian cities have experienced. They want Odessa intact, Odessa's infrastructure, architecture and strategic meaning. They want all of those undamaged. That's why I think Odessa will be subject to a special operation, Mayor Jana Ojana told the US's public broadcasting service. The city is also home to a sizable ethnic Russian community, a factor that some Russian observers have claimed could help a military attempt to capture the city. Interactive Russia-Ukraine map: who controls what in Ukraine? Day 14. Al Jazeera. In 2014, as separatist forces backed by Russia started armed rebellions in the eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions against the central government in Kiev, Odessa also witnessed some violence. Ukrainian ultranationalists clashed with pro-Russia groups opposing pro-Western protests, which culminated in the deaths of more than 40 people. In his February 21 speech recognizing the independence and sovereignty of the Donetsk People's Republic (DPR) and the Luhansk People's Republic (LPR), Russian President Vladimir Putin pledged to find those responsible for the violence in Odessa and hold them accountable. But according to Anton Barbashin, a political analyst and editorial director of Riddle Russia, the events 8 years ago and the presence of ethnic Russians in the city are unlikely to help Russia advance in Odessa. In 2014, the Ukrainians stopped an attempt to make Odessa into Odessa People's Republic. There is clearly not a lot of pro-Russia sentiment, especially at this moment, he told Al Jazeera. In his view, the current difficulties the Russian army is experiencing in advancing on a few fronts could also reflect on its ability to capture Odessa. The Russian forces have been overstretched and ensuring supply routes and reinforcements could be a challenge. We do see how tough it is for Russian forces to attempt to occupy territories that are much closer to Russia than Odessa, Barbashin said. Transnistria and regional security. The capture of Odessa could have negative consequences not only for Ukraine, but also for the security of its neighbors. Defense analysts have pointed out that controlling the city would enable the Russian forces to open a land corridor to the breakaway region of Transnistria, which has sought independence from Moldova since the 1990s. The region hosts some 1,500 Russian troops deployed as part of a peacekeeping force created following a 1992 ceasefire agreement between Chisinau and Transnistrian separatists. So far, Russia has not recognized the self-proclaimed Pridnestrovian Moldavian Republic, but there has been speculation that Moscow may seek to include it in a union state along with Belarus, the DPR and LPR, Abkhazia and South Ossetia. The idea of getting all these lost Soviet territories back to Russia was endorsed by a number of foreign policy circles, said Barbashin. A move towards Transnistria would likely destabilize Moldova, which, like Ukraine, is not a NATO or a European Union member. On March 3, the Moldovan government filed a formal request for accession to the EU, fearing a spillover of the Russian-Ukrainian war. Further south, Bulgaria and Romania have also watched anxiously the events in Ukraine. According to Dmitry Bishev, a visiting scholar at Carnegie Europe, the two countries have already felt threatened following the annexation of Crimea and Moscow's deployment of missile systems and expansion of its Black Sea Fleet on the peninsula. The potential fall of Odessa would only strengthen Moscow's hand, he told Al Jazeera. In practical terms, this would remove the territorial buffer between us, Bulgaria and Romania, and Russia. In his view, this is likely to result in NATO beefing up its ground presence in Bulgaria and Romania. A heightened Navy presence is unlikely given the limitations set in the Montreux Convention of 1936, which governs the use of the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits. The document, which both Romania and Bulgaria are signatories to, restricts the passage of Navy ships that do not belong to the Black Sea. You can follow Maria Petkova on Twitter at @mkpetkova. Source: Al Jazeera. More from news. Ukrainian Embassy in U.S., Americans want to join fight versus Russia. Major General Boris Kremenetsky, defense attaché with the Embassy of Ukraine, says volunteers are asked to bring their own gear and travel to Poland for entry to Ukraine. Patrick Szymanski AP photo. United Airlines says 2,000 unvaccinated employees can return. United Airlines, which last year became one of the most visible U.S. corporations to impose a vaccine requirement, said that about 97% of its 67,000 U.S. workers got the shots, and only about 200 were terminated. File: Chris Helgren, Reuters. Putin says Russia will emerge stronger, sanctions will rebound. Putin said Moscow, a major energy producer that supplies a third of Europe and number 39, gas, would continue to meet its contractual obligations. Mikhail Klementiev/Sputnik, Kremlin pool via AP photo. Ukraine-Russia war poses new threat to global food security. Bangladesh, for instance, imports almost half its wheat from Ukraine and Russia. File: Mohammad Poner Hussein, Reuters. Most read. Half of Kiev's population has fled as Russian troops draw closer. Kiev residents have flocked to train stations to flee the city. Emin Sansr, Anadolu Agency. Infographic: How much of your country's oil comes from Russia? As bombs fall on Ukraine, memes ridicule Russian aggression. The caption under this popular meme reads, NATO explains why it refuses to declare Ukraine a no-fly zone. Russia, we have enough oil and gas buyers even with sanctions. Russia, which currently sends natural gas to China via the Power of Siberia gas link, has been holding talks with the Asian nation over another major long-term deal for supplies via Mongolia. File: Bloomberg. About us. Code of Ethics. Terms and Conditions. EU/E regulatory notice. Privacy policy. Cookie policy. Cookie preferences. Sitemap. Community guidelines. Work for us. HR quality. Connect. Contact us. Apps. Channel Finder. TV schedule. Podcasts. Submit a tip. Our channels: Al Jazeera Arabic, Al Jazeera English, Al Jazeera Investigative Unit, Al Jazeera Mubashir, Al Jazeera Documentary, Al Jazeera Balkans, AJ Plus, Our Network, Al Jazeera Center for Studies, Al Jazeera Media Institute, Learn Arabic, Al Jazeera Center for Public Liberties and Human Rights, Al Jazeera Forum, Al Jazeera Hotel Forum, Al Jazeera Hotel Forum.